I remember watching a Will Smith video, and Will Smith was talking about the greatest things in life are on the other side of fear. And it was him jumping out of a plane, inspirational music going, and I'm sitting there with my leg up like, oh my God, he's right. And he was right.
Yeah.
I mean, all the scariest things that we do, if we do them, those are where the greatest accomplishments lie.
So this is the Nameless Podcast.
Soon to be named.
Soon to be named podcast. Just a conversation between two buddies. Trevor West is here. I'm Jimmy Dover. And at the office, the new office that's unoccupied. An unoccupied, unnamed office and an unnamed podcast. But no, man, we met through Legacy Family Mastermind. Found out we live close to each other, and so decided, hey, we should probably get together here and there and stay touching base. So why don't tell a little bit about your story, your journey?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I've been
man.
trying to get this going for a little while.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a good thing when we have so much going on between work, between family, that we can't always make time for it right away. But thanks for making time for it. It's been awesome. But yeah, getting around movers and shakers is absolutely key for me. So, and that's a big part of my journey. When I was I grew up in Canton, Ohio, just 30 minutes south of here. And I mean, small town, didn't really have anything. I was just a scrawny little kid growing up. And then I moved out to Warren, Ohio when I was in high school and captain on the football team because I actually put on some size and I was decent at football. But as all my buddies were leaving for college, I was like, dude, I hate school. I hate it. I couldn't stand it. People telling me what to do. Well, part of my story is more people telling me what to do. But just having to do that schoolwork that I didn't see any reason that I would need to have to do that. So I decided to join the Air Force. I had mixed, tried to join the Marines or the Army or the Navy. I wanted to do Special Forces, but I joined the Air Force because I wanted to be a pararescueman.
Nice.
Pararescuemen, their slogan is, we do what we do so that others may live.
That's cool.
And that really, resonated with me. But I went to go take my physical, found out I was colorblind. So I just nixed all of those. All the cool jobs were gone.
No way.
And most of the other jobs were gone for that matter as well. So
Yeah.
I picked operations intelligence, which was the next coolest thing. And in the job description, they make you think you're going to be James Bond kicking in doors and shoot people in the face, but you're not. Turns out. So I joined the Air Force, and as an intelligence analyst, my job was to gather information and tell it to people, whether it was commanders, whether it was peers, or whether it was trigger pullers. I remember my first time deploying to Afghanistan, 22-year-old, really had no idea what I was doing, but I was the intelligence analyst. I was the liaison between the Army Rangers, and there were 6 of them, and CIA.
No.
So there was a whole team of their ground branch dudes, and they would go kick in doors and shoot people in the face. So my job was to give information to them.
Yeah.
And also task U.S. military aircraft, intelligence aircraft to go work with these folks. So
It's insane.
it was wild, dude, for sure. And also finding bad dudes.
Yeah.
So I needed to know who you are, what you do, where you live, where you go to sleep, where you wake up, who all your friends are, what you do on Thursday night, what kind of weapons you use, the last time you used those weapons, the area around your village, the route traveling down there, so I could give that information as quickly and as effectively to the people who were going to go put themselves in harm's way, right? So it was a big, huge responsibility for 22 years old. Like, I showed up, and I honestly did not know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to get there. I showed up to Afghanistan, and the people that were supposed to pick me up did it. So I'm like, I get in this truck with these people, and I'm listening to their conversation. They mentioned something. I was like, hey, what do you guys know about this? Because they were just going to drop me off somewhere. And so they snuck me onto the base, and I just showed up in the CIA's office, and they're like, who are you? I'm like, I'm your new intel guy. And they're like, how did you get in here? So a lot of that was just figuring it out.
Yeah.
Getting in that seat was just figuring it out and providing as much value as possible. So throughout my military career, that's the majority of what I did. But I got a lot of reps speaking because constantly I was giving briefs. Constantly I was talking to people, a lot of times high pressure, short time frame type of situations.
Yeah.
So even though I was doing these things that sound cool, a lot of what I was doing outside of work was not cool. I was drinking a ton because that's what young military people do.
Yeah.
I was chasing chicks. I was spending way more money than I was making, racking up that credit card debt, driving a brand new car. Like, oh yeah, dude, I'm really cool. I wasn't cool.
Yeah.
I actually thought I was. But, I was living with 3 of my really good friends at the time. So that's just what we did. We'd come home from work, crack open some beers, go out to the bars, eat some dinner, whatever. And we all decided to join the rugby team. And this was one of the best decisions I ever made. We joined the rugby team. Rugby's an incredible sport.
Yeah.
And, getting out there, just getting beat up and beating up on, bunch of dudes.
Yeah.
And that was really cool. And one fateful day on the rugby pitch, I got my leg snapped by this ginormous dude. Like, it was kickoff return, and I was running the ball, and some dude grabbed me from behind my waist, and I was dragging him, which is pretty cool to drag another grown man. But eventually I fell down to my knees, and this massive dude just came and tackled me from the front and snapped me to the back, and my leg was just hanging like a needle. You get to hear the snap. But this is the greatest blessing in disguise. Some people call it you have feathers, you have hammers, and you have trains in life. The feathers tickle you until you're in the wrong position. But being a hard-headed individual, sometimes you need hammers. And when the hammers don't work, sometimes you need trains. And for me, this was a train. So the blessing in disguise was when I got home, almost immediately, all 3 of my roommates deployed. They were gone. And so it was just me.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty extroverted dude. You know that about me. I love being around people. And I was always around people. Never thought that I needed time for myself. But this moment, when I just had my Netflix account, my wheelchair, and some Percocets, this was the first time that I was alone with just my thoughts.
Yeah.
And when you burn, it's scary, man. It was really scary. I'm like, after about 100 hours of Netflix, you ask, well, what are you doing with your life? Like, you legit have no plan. You're not satisfied with work anymore. Because at that point, there's not really many places for you to go. Yeah. Where I was working was the most elite Air Force unit in the world. Yeah. Like, no question about it. We were doing all the things that we could possibly do. After that, where do you go, right? And I just didn't see myself living out the 20-year retirement for the military and then starting my life. Yeah. So, like you said, it was a scary moment. But thankfully, that fear caused me to take action. I'm like, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to get my life together. What are all the successful people around me doing? They are getting degrees. So I decided, bad decision, but also a good decision. I decided I'm going to take a math class. I'm just going to get the worst part of this out of the way. And if I can do that, the rest of it will be a breeze. So I take this math class, cheating the entire time, get to the final exam. They want to proctor it. Yes, I've been cheating. So I quit that immediately. I thought, if the next 4 years are going to be anything like this, doing Pythagorean theorem and just trying to reteach myself all this stuff, where am I going to use this at, and where is it actually going to lead me? Yeah. So I scrapped that. That was a great decision. It's okay to quit sometimes. Yeah. That's what I learned. Yeah. So I thought, if I can manage my money, I can be successful anywhere. So I went and bought a bunch of books. Think and Grow Rich, The Simple Path to Wealth, Richest Man in Babylon, Accounting 101. I didn't know I was jazz, numbers. Yeah. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of course, the book that changed so many people's lives. Yep. And that was it. That was the motivation that I needed, the inspiration that I needed to be like, I don't have to. One, I've been an idiot. I've been really dumb. And second, there's a way out.
Yeah.
And I don't have to live life this way. So Robert Kiyosaki is a real estate guy that got me into real estate. And I went and bought a bunch more books on real estate investing. I went to YouTube University. I took a community college class, hosted a real estate investing course for $75. Took that, and I was like, boom, this is it. I'm going to go buy some real estate. So
isn't it crazy? People spend, I mean, they'll let you get 100,000, 200,000 in debt for a degree, and you probably spent $100,
few
on
hundred
books,
bucks, yeah,
$100
absolutely.
on books, and got the light bulb.
The light bulb to completely and radically change your life for the better. That is insane.
Yeah.
You can take someone's knowledge from 10, 20, 30 years of them doing it. They boil it down into something that I can consume now in a matter of days or weeks. And now I have access to that and I can go replicate it. Yes, I'm going to make some mistakes. And I certainly did. But boom, now, okay, instead of sitting here and worrying about what I'm going to do with my life, I'm doing something about it.
Yeah.
Get out of the analysis paralysis, go buy the property.
Yeah.
And luckily, having the VA loan, I was a 0% down loan, and that got me into a 3-unit building. And then boom, I bought a 2-unit building with all the cash that I had. I had $500 left in my bank account, but I was like, this has to be it.
Yeah.
If this is what I'm doing, I'm fully committed, and that's got me to where I am today, which is buying multifamily properties.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. How long were you in the military then?
I was in for almost 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
almost
crazy.
8 years.
Yeah.
Don't regret any of it. I mean, those times in those deployed scenarios, those built me into the person that I am, for sure.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's so military to rugby to real estate. That's a pretty good story.
Yeah. And, there's so many transitions for anybody listening, talking about, well, how would I go from this job to this job?
Yeah.
There's so many similarities to pretty much everything in life.
Yeah.
For me, building a target package on Jihadi Joe was, I need all those things that I mentioned. I need to know all the things about you. It's the same thing with a real estate property. I need to know where it is. I need to know how much it makes. I need who's currently living there, who owned it in the past, all what's around the immediate area, and build a package. And then I need to sell that to investors, where here I was selling it to commanders to say, hey, can we go get this guy? He's doing some bad stuff.
Yeah.
So being able to draw the line to the skills that I already possess and worked really hard to get to, how can I transition those to something new that's going to elevate me faster? Because in the service, you have the rank system.
Yeah.
You can only go so far, so fast, whereas out on your own,
sky's the limit.
Sky is the limit.
Yeah. Love it, man. That's awesome. So when you were sitting in the chair with your Percocets and Netflix, like I know you said you bought some books and whatnot, but like, what was that? What was the tick? What was the mindset shift? Because we were talking offline here before we started about how everything's mindset. Like, and even like all that cool stuff you did, you were talking about just having some recent mindset shifts of like getting your head right. Like, it's a constant evolution, I feel like for all of us, and no matter what business or industry we're in. But like, was there a certain thing that like was like the trigger, or was it just like you stumbled on it and then it kind of lit the match and started going?
Dude, it's so interesting when I go back to this time, because I was literally just melting into my couch. And a lot of times I couldn't sleep because I'd wake up in the middle of the night, my leg would be killing me because I just had surgery on it. And I don't know if this was the catalyst. I mean, this was a big life change for me.
Yeah.
One, being alone and really thinking about, what am I doing? I really don't have any plan.
Yeah.
But as strange as it sounds, I remember Ty Lopez. Have you ever heard of Ty Lopez?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's a scam artist. I still don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how.
I like listening to him on podcasts.
Interesting dude.
Yeah.
But I remember waking up in the middle of the night and there was a YouTube ad for, I was watching something on YouTube, and there's Ty Lopez. He's got an hour-long ad talking about how he goes up to business owners and he builds them a website. He goes and sits a portfolio in front of them, opens it up, and he's selling them this website for $5,000, $10,000. And I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah.
People out there making money like that?
Yeah.
Had no idea. So I'm locked in.
Yeah.
My eyes are just wide open. I'm like, Ty Lopez, I still don't know if you're scamming people, but what you're doing, if you're doing this, there's got to be other things out there.
Versus punching a clock.
Working for somebody else, doing things just because.
Yeah.
Because our parents said so, because of something we said. School told us, because that's what everybody else is doing. And another part of that was, I remember watching a Will Smith video. And Will Smith was talking about the greatest things in life are on the other side of fear. And it was him jumping out of a plane, inspirational music going. And I'm sitting there with my leg up like, oh my God, he's right. And he was right.
Yeah.
I mean, all the scariest things that we do, if we do them, those are where the greatest accomplishments lie.
It's the simplest yet hardest thing to move through. Because I 100% agree. I think every great thing that's happened in my life, you had to step through that door of fear or anxiety or like the unknown, but mainly it boils down to fear.
Yeah.
And those are the things that, what do you think stops people? Because there's probably tons of people. We know, we were kind of talking about that. There's a lot of people out there who, and it's not that I think you can live an okay life not going through those doors. But you're always living, I think there's always something deep down, because for years I was there, and there's always this voice in the back of your head that you're meant for more, you can do more, there's more out there. And then, as in your journey and mine, you take these steps, and you're like, wow. And then you look back and you're like, I was afraid of that. Like, that wasn't even that hard. And then you find another door, maybe a little bigger door, and you go through that door. But what do you think, what are some things that you think stop people from taking those leaps or going through those lines of fear?
Yeah.
Because someone's probably like, oh yeah, you were in the military, you were in Afghanistan, you played rugby, like easy for you to say.
We all put our pants on the same way.
Right,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
We all have different challenges.
Yes.
Even the people who grow up with a silver spoon in their mouth face different challenges that are just as real as somebody who grew up in the ghetto, who grew up in the projects, who had nothing growing up.
Yeah.
We still face the same problems. It's all about how we respond to them. Life boils down to decisions.
Yeah.
We are a culmination of all the decisions that we've ever made. We're handed this set of cards. These are the cards that you have. What are you going to do with them is the catalyst for that. And there's a number of things that stop us from taking action. We all realize that there's more, but it's fear that keeps us from moving forward. And just like you said, you can live an okay life, but I translate okay with also known as mediocre.
Yeah.
And we all have a duty
to
amplify, maximize the gifts, talents, and abilities that we've been blessed with.
Yeah.
But the things that stop us is the people that are around us, family, friends, who say, as soon as you start to go do something else, they pull you back down. Oh, don't do that.
It's amazing.
It might start with something small, but it starts with something small, and then small again, and small again. And then it never gets to a larger step, because every step that you've taken, somebody knocked you down.
Yep. I think fear's little brother is comfort. Because those are the two things that, like, well, I'm not going to take that step. So you come back, and it's that comfort level. And it's where a lot of the people around you, or maybe your old circles, are. And it's never been amazing, or more amazing to me, is like one thing as simple as getting in shape, like working out, and how many people like give me crap about, like, oh, you're too skinny, or like, what do you do? Like, you need to, like, enjoy, you need to eat, and it's like, dude, like, I'm on this journey. Like, this isn't, I'm not anorexic. I'm not, roided out to like the T, like, you should be happy. Like, but it's that reflection, because it holds a mirror up, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
People. Like, when you start stepping out in your entrepreneurial journey, your health journey, whatever it might be, it holds a mirror up to the average,
Right.
or the mediocre, and not that, you're trying to drag them along. You want those people to see the light or
Absolutely.
have that moment on the couch with the Netflix that you did, but it makes them, and then it makes them self-conscious,
Right.
and they want to, like you were saying, pull you back down or be like, hey, come get back here to comfort.
And they don't even mean to do it on purpose.
Right.
Like, that's just what they've
Right.
been programmed by
Right.
all the life experiences that they've had. So
Right.
we can't point the finger at people and say,
100%.
oh, well, it's because of you. No.
No.
We all make our own choices.
Yeah.
But what you're saying reminds me of there's an experiment that someone did where they put a bunch of fleas in a jar. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
And they're all jumping way over the lid, but then they screw the lid on. And after 24 hours, they only jump to where the lid is.
Yeah.
So he unscrews the lid, and now the fleas will never jump out of the jar because they've been trained to only jump that high.
And the crazy thing too is the offspring, the fleas, the baby fleas they come out and they only jump that high because that's what they see
Yes.
the other fleas doing.
And thankfully, we're not fleas,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
We can make better decisions.
Right.
And with the information that's out there, this can be a blessing and a curse. There's so much out there that says, oh, I did all these things and now I'm a quadrillionaire. Now I have all the things in life, where we don't really get to see the journey. We don't get to see the hard things.
Right.
Like I talk about being in the service. Those were the hard things that I chose to do in order to get to a new place.
Yeah.
I didn't know where they were going to lead me, but I decided I'm going to do this thing, join in the service.
Yep.
Most people join the service because they want to better themselves. They want camaraderie. They want to travel the world, whatever that is. They don't want to go to school, but it's just a stepping stone to something else.
Yeah.
Whether it's a stepping stone to being a commander or a high-ranking official, if that's your journey, that's your path, man, do it the best of your ability. Yeah. I can't remember who said it. If you're going to be Martin Luther King said it in a book I read. He might have been quoting someone else, but he said, if you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper that anybody's ever seen.
Yeah.
Be the absolute best at it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you're buying real estate. It doesn't matter if you own, a billion-dollar business, or if you're a street sweeper.
Yeah.
You just do it to the best of your ability, and you're still going to get the same things that everybody else gets,
Right.
which is fulfillment, which is knowing that when you lay your head down to rest, that you did everything in your power to make the most of yourself, provide for your family, and to get all the things that life has to offer by putting your maximum effort into something.
Yeah. Amen, man. I feel like we were created to do as much. Like, I want to wring this life out. Like, when I'm dying, like, I want to be like, I was the wash rag. I dried it out. I wrung it all out. Like, I left it all on the field. But it's hard to do, too. It's so often, even though we can both sit here and we walk through some of those doors of fear, but there's definitely doors that I didn't walk through, and times where I'm like, or I might have taken it easy and taken some time off and not pushed as hard as I could. And it's not about just like balls to the wall all the time, but it's just about continuing to improve yourself, continuing that journey you were talking about, continuing. And I feel like we all have that calling on our lives to do that. Like,
Definitely.
That we're created for more than just average.
We are. I mean, we are made in God's image.
Yeah.
You and we're both believers. I mean, God literally told us what to do with he told us our purpose in the very beginning of the Bible, when he says we were created in his image. We were created in his image. He is our creator. So therefore we are called to go create and create whatever it is that we feel on our heart.
Yeah.
I feel like it's cool to be an entrepreneur right now.
Yes.
It's very people, young men and women want to go be YouTube sensations, TikTok sensations. They want to, and not everybody's built for that.
No.
But when we see it so often, we think, well, that's the only way to success, when there's an infinite number of ways to success.
Yep.
But as long as we're doing it, that's true to us.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, I was trying to do it so I would feel like I was enough.
Yeah.
I was trying to build all these things so, next time I go to a conference, I'll have this many doors and people will respect me. People will give me affirmation.
Right.
And, I think I was addicted to that affirmation. I was addicted to people telling me you did a good job.
Yeah.
And that could come from a number of different avenues in my life growing up. But when we are only searching for validation from other people, we'll always wake up empty.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the trap that going through those doors that we talked about, you can get, because you can be like, wow, I conquered this. Look what I did. And yeah, we did it. We have to take those steps, but you can get caught in that trap of like, well, now I need almost like those dopamine hits of,
Yeah,
like, I need to do something else just for the sake of doing, where you're not enjoying that process. And it's always what's the saying? Like, it's not what do I need to do to get X, Y, or Z. It's like, who do I need to become for that? And,
absolutely.
And yeah, that's a great thing. And going back to being created in his image, like, the one thing I never really thought of this, but I heard it recently, is like, lions, like, we have to eat, we have to sleep. Lions, other animals, they eat and sleep. The thing that separates us from them, I mean, obviously we talk and things like that, but like, we have imagination. And I never like thought about that. Like, yeah, it's kind of obvious, but it's like, no, we created like this place we're in here. Someone thought up this house, drew the plans, built it. I came in and I rethought of it, and like, to put black on the wall, to put this soundboard on this corner, like that came out of a thought in my head. And like, to think about that is just, it's kind of weird. Like, but it goes back to, like, for me, it was easy. It was like, well, we go back to creation. God spoke out the world in 6 days. And so we think about like remodeling a house or flipping a house or doing something. It's like, that comes from our head. And it's just crazy to think about how that's birthed out of just thoughts in your mind.
It is absolutely mind blowing. I mean, just to be here in this room, sharing ideas, sharing thoughts, is mind blowing. The fact that you can get around somebody else, and not only are your thoughts already insane, that we can come up with anything, you get with somebody else, and now there's no telling.
Right.
Which speaks to, man, who are we surrounded with?
Yeah.
Who are the people that we call when we're upset? Who are the people that we call when we have an incredible idea?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who has ever lived has had $1 million idea.
Yeah.
But they didn't do anything with it because they didn't believe in themselves. They didn't have people around them that believed in them enough because sometimes my belief isn't going to be enough to get it done.
Right.
Sometimes you have to ride other people's belief in you until yours kicks in.
Borrowed belief.
Borrowed belief. So by actively choosing our circle is legit one of the greatest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
And luckily, my friends in the service, they didn't try to pull me down. They just like, hey, he's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
When they came back from their deployment, they said, who are you? Who is this person?
Yeah.
You never leave your desk.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude, I got to go all in.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to buy property. I'm going to raise money. I'm starting a business. I got an LLC created. I'm doing all this. I'm reading books, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I was a different beast.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Like, it was cool.
Yeah.
And they didn't try to pull me down. I mean, they say, hey, we're going to go out to the bar.
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But then once I started getting into the real estate world, it was like, look at all these. I was opened up. Look at these people my age crushing the game, buying deals, selling deals, doing it all.
Speaking another language.
Building themselves up, constantly doing stuff together that was going to improve them, have a good time.
Yeah.
I was just like, there's this whole other side of life that I had no idea existed.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it was there. So once I got with them, dude, the momentum was catapulted to another level. I was already in it.
Yeah.
I was vibrating at a completely different frequency. But then I got around other people who were vibrating at an even better frequency. It was like, oh, there's an unlimited amount of things that I can do with life.
Yeah. So we're in the same mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
You just celebrated 3 years.
3 years.
I just got to a year, and I know what it's done for me in 12 months. So I want you to talk a little bit about that. One thing I want to say is, like, if you would have told me a year and a half ago that you're going to spend thousands of dollars on paying to be parts of groups or for like something non-college education. Like
Sure.
you're going to pay to be in certain circles and be in a group. I'd be like, yeah, right. Like, cause I would see those things like, hey, join my this or that for $300 or $500, or then there's, 1,000, people up from there. And I'd be like, that's a scam. Like, you're not going to learn it. I can go on YouTube or whatever. And the power, going back to what you were just saying, when you get around the right circles and those people, it's like a hockey stick effect to, and then you look and you're like, I didn't know I could do that, but I got around these people. And the opposite of where everybody's pulling you down, everybody's standing above you, trying to pull you up. And like, you can do that. Like, there's nobody, like everybody's a champion for you. Like it's
Right.
insane. So can you speak to that a little bit or just talk about your experience?
Definitely. I think my experience is going to be contrary to most people's when they get into groups like these. Maybe not most people, because being in the group for 3 years, you see people come and go. So you don't get to watch their journey or what they're going through, what's happening behind closed doors. But I'll preface this with, if you don't quit, you can't lose. And that's really where I was. So when I was around the people that I was just talking about, that when I was around highly motivated, young entrepreneurs who were getting after it, man, I was at the highest I'd ever been in life.
Yeah.
I'm buying property. I got my real estate license. I have a consistent flow of clients. But I had met my fiance, my now wife. I met her when I was in Germany, right before I got out of the service.
Gotcha.
February of 2020, I came home from a 4-month stint in Germany where we had just met. And this was pre-COVID, like COVID was just starting to, gain traction. And so I get home, I get out of the service a lot more abruptly than I thought I was going to. I thought I was going to have till December. Turns out it was going to be April. I got it extended to June. But still, I didn't really have a plan. I had 2 rental properties.
Yeah.
And I decided I was going to get my license. So I had my license, and, that was a grind sesh. My back was against the wall. I need to make money to survive. And so I was working, 16, 18-hour days. She would give me a call to check in, 6-hour difference. I got 10 minutes for you. I got 10 minutes on the phone. That's what you got. Because I have a bunch of stuff I got to do.
Yeah.
And man, that just destroys a relationship. Yeah. Because while she understood what I was doing and where I was at, it was hard to conceptualize because you don't have that day-to-day interaction, that face-to-face. So I made a decision for me, man, and for us. And I said, if this is really something that I'm going to commit to, and I'm a committer, I'm either in or I'm out. Mm-hmm. I put all my stuff in storage. I gave away all my clients. I moved to Switzerland for 90 days. And this is peak COVID, dude.
Yeah.
So January 1st, 2021, I'm in nowhere, Switzerland. Town of less than 1,000 people. You better believe I was the only black one of them, too. And I wasn't staying with her. She's a full-time equestrian, so she works with horses. And 6-7 days a week, 12-hour days.
Yeah.
I'm staying down the road at a hotel/restaurant. They got 2 or 3 rooms upstairs. The guy was the mayor of the town who owned the building.
No way.
And
they never really shut down, right?
They were shut down.
They were shut
down. They were big time shut down.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought they kind of were leading the way on like not really doing, but doesn't matter.
They were definitely all about it.
Got it.
And so like the restaurant wasn't operating. So there was nobody. I was there was a couple other people staying there, but I didn't see them. They went off and did their thing. And it was me after all this momentum, all these people around me, boom, quiet.
Yeah.
Back to that place where I was when I broke my leg. But this time it didn't elevate me. I was trying to do all these things. I didn't know what to do. Should I keep buying real estate? Should I focus on maybe doing referrals? I was nowhere. I was just it was like running on a treadmill, but I wasn't moving anywhere. And it just destroyed my mindset. Mm-hmm. While the business side suffered significantly, my relationship was getting the work that it needed. And that, just like juggling balls, juggling work and juggling all these other things, they're made of rubber balls. You can drop one and they bounce back. But juggling relationships, juggling all the most important things in life, they're made of glass balls. You drop one of those, it leaves cracks. And while there were cracks in there, I was still trying to repair all that. So we got to a place where we actually decided that we were going to continue on. And she's now my wife, and we're like super pumped. 3.5 years long distance.
Awesome.
And it was just an incredible journey. But after I came back from Switzerland, I had no place really. I didn't move back to North Carolina where I was living, where all my properties were, where all those people were. The day before I left Switzerland, my dad got really sick. And we didn't know what was going to happen. He like went off the rails, dude. He went from Ohio all the way, somehow got to Florida. He was being chased by the police at some point, going 130 miles an hour on his motorcycle. Like something, I don't know if it was the COVID shot. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But he was just not in a good place. Yeah. Luckily, he is better than he's ever been.
Yeah.
Like he is just such a fighter, man, my dad. But I moved back to Ohio, right? I didn't know how long he was going to be down for. I didn't know what the deal was. And I decided I'm going to move back in with my parents. And when you move back to small town Ohio, where you grew up, you go back to that survivor mindset.
Yeah.
So I got to be a survivalist here.
Yeah.
So I know all the right things to do, but I'm not doing them. I'm not executing. I'm not getting up early. I'm not getting my reading done. I'm not, making the calls, making the offers, doing the things, even though I know I should be. But I was beating myself up every single day. Why? My mindset wasn't right. I wasn't around the right people. Getting around my boys that I hung out with when I was in high school, who are, God love them, but they're doing what they grew up to do. They're working construction jobs, and that's going to be their path unless something changes that for them, or they change it for themselves. And all the while, I'm going to legacy family summits. I'm going to the meetups. I'm going to the places. And each time I show up, somebody's doing something that they're like, mobile home parks has been it for me. And I'm a multifamily investor. I would go to a meetup or go to an event and come away saying, we're going to go buy mobile home parks. And I had a business partner at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm the leader of that organization. So each time we go to a summit, I'm shifting us in a different direction.
Yeah.
So we make no headway.
Yeah.
Dive into it for a couple weeks, 6 weeks, nothing. Shift gears. This isn't working for us. Next summit, next thing. And that, we're no longer, we still keep the properties that we have, but we're not partners anymore. Yeah. Love them to death, still one of my best friends. But I had to make a decision. I can't continue to lead us in this wrong direction.
Yeah.
But again, what I said at the beginning, if you don't quit, you can't lose. I stayed in it. I continued to come to the events. And that put me in a position where now I'm stepping on stage, and now I have this whole other business venture as a live event MC that I get to do now.
Yeah.
But all the while, if you don't quit, you can't lose. I still would try, get up early, or I got to get my reading done. And the biggest thing for me was just getting right with the Lord.
Yeah.
Continuing to allow him to work in me, because I kept thinking the real estate tells me who I am, but that's not who tells me who I am. He does.
Yeah.
But the more I tried to chase that, the worse I felt, the less progress that I made.
Yeah.
So by saying, dude, it's not on me.
Yeah.
I'm not tied to that. It just opened up all the doors. Yeah. So I knew I had my relationship right. I knew I had my heart and my mind right. And then as soon as I got those things done, now I'm going to be closing on 12 units this week.
Yeah. Which would be doubling
my portfolio in 1 month. And that's immediately after where I shifted my focus from.
Yeah. And that's not, I want to hit on the MC stuff because some people might not like, that's a big deal.
Sure.
So, but going back, dude, tons to unpack there I'm glad you shared that. Like, you got out of the Netflix area, you were on this high, you were taking action, stepping through fear, doing all this stuff. And it's not like, and then I did this, and then no, you went back a little bit. Like,
a lot, yeah.
Maybe definitely. Not back, maybe, but plateaued, whatever. It's not, I think a lot of people, like you said earlier, they see this journey and you're making quadrillions, or whoever's making quadrillions here, but you missed all that stuff And all that stuff is the stuff you were just talking about. It's called real life.
Yeah, definitely.
It's called
punched in the mouth.
And you getting punched in the crotch, punched in the mouth. And you have these breakthroughs and this changes and it's awesome. And then you might go back, or if you're not constantly working on yourself, and I agree with you, dude, if you're not letting the Lord be the Lord of your life, it's that much harder. But when your head's not right and you're not constantly evolving and growing, you're going backwards and you can slip back into those other things. Because that story could have been so much, like when you were saying, I didn't quit. I've only been in 12 months and I've seen people come and go.
Right.
And it's not that legacy's the only thing. Like, just find a thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you're out there, find a thing. But you could have left there, got discouraged, maybe had a couple other rentals, or maybe you're only at 4 then, or, or it could have been a completely different path and you might be swinging a hammer somewhere. And that speaks so much to, that not quitting, getting around people, even though, because I had some of those same thoughts, like after 3 or 4 months in, I'm like, I could just save this money. Oh, this isn't for me. This is bigger than me. Like, I'm like trying to play it safe, retreating back to that comfort. And I didn't. And I've had similar, like double, twice this year. And, it's just it goes back to the mindset of like, if anybody takes anything away from this, just work on your mind, like get your mindset right. And I know it's kind of cliche these days too, but there's so much. And just reading books, like, it blows me away how many people don't read. Like get a book.
One book.
One book.
One book can change your whole life. Rich Dad Poor Dad changed my life forever.
Yeah.
Forever. I will you cannot go back once you unlock that thing.
100%.
And some people read it and they get nothing from it.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's different one.
Read a different book.
Yeah.
Pick up another one.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, some people figured it out.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them.
Right.
I figured out some things.
Yep.
So other people, the places that I'm lacking the most, I go and figure it out from somebody who's figured it out.
Yeah.
Whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whether it's speaking, whatever that thing is. Especially if you have, we all have unique abilities, right? Yeah. We all have these unique abilities. So if you don't know what your unique ability is, ask the 5 people that are closest to you that you trust the most to take it seriously and say, hey, if there was something about me that I'm exceptionally good at, what would you say that is?
Yep.
And if they give you real feedback, you can take that and say, oh, I didn't even realize that about myself.
Yep.
And then you can go double down on that strength. You can go read books, find other people who are doing
Take a couple free tests. There's so many, the disc, there's so many apps out there to learn more, and then triple down on that strength.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Take it to a whole new level. And then you might be opening up a door that you never even imagined the door existed.
But it also then, like, you realize, for me, because that stuff happened to me. I was kind of floating, like, what is this? What, I think I'm good at these things. And I did one of those where I emailed out the 5 people around me, and I was like, okay, these are things. And then I went on this personal development journey, and it was like, blew my mind. I'm like, okay, now I know I'm like this. Everybody tells me I'm like this. Why did God wire me like this? Well, I don't know. I'll have to ask him that some other day. But I'm going to take these strengths. I'm clearly, like, we're all wired differently. Like, there are similarities with the Myers-Briggs and things like that. But that's what, then you live into those. And it's just like, I don't know, it's life-giving once you realize these are things I'm good at. These are things I'm not. I'm doubling down on this. And I'm going to live into this.
And I think that is the start of working on your mindset. Yeah. It doesn't have to be the start, but I mean, if you're trying to figure something out, you're naturally working on your mindset. If you're trying to figure yourself out, if you're trying to figure something out and you're committed to it, dude, there's a number of different ways to get there. Doing something hard, whether that's going on a hike, whether it's a cold plunge, whether it's working out consistently, whether it is doing just one thing every day. Even if it's just that one thing. I don't feel like reading today, sometimes I'll just read a sentence.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just read a page. But it's the consistency of me building the muscle that is my mind and saying, I am in control, not the comfort of today.
Yeah. The bitch voice.
The bitch voice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's conquering that bitch voice in your mind.
It's huge.
I mean, it's you versus you.
There's nobody else.
There's nobody else. You got the people pulling back on you sometimes once you spring out of that. But at the end of the day, it's you versus you in up here in your head.
Right. And nobody's coming to save us.
No.
Nobody is coming to save me. When I look into the mirror, I mean, besides Jesus Christ, because he died on the cross and 3 days later, no one's coming to save me. So I believe in the Lord, but the Lord's not just going to come fix my life for me.
No.
You got to get up and go.
Yeah.
My personal mentor, he had a big shift for me in my mindset because, I was still struggling. Should I dive all the way into the live event MC? Should I dive all the way into real estate and let the other things be subsidiaries of that? And I didn't know what to do. And because I had all these options, I chose to do nothing. And because I was doing nothing, I wasn't making progress anywhere. Yeah. I dabble here, dabble there, but move nothing forward. Yeah. And my mentor broke it down for me. Did you play football growing up?
Oh, yeah.
So you know what a shoestring tackle is, right? Yeah. Just get slapped right in the ankle and you go flying. He said, how easy is it for you to, when your momentum is moving forward, you get that shoestring tackle, you go flying. But imagine you're sitting on your couch. If someone comes up and slaps your shoestrings, you're going to be like, you're going to kick them in the face. Yeah. Get away from me. What are you doing?
Yeah.
He said, how much easier is it for God to nudge you in the right direction when you're already traveling? All he has to do is give you a gentle push, and then you're right on track.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing nothing and saying, God, I'm going to wait for you to tell me exactly what to do. He's like, dude, you need to get up and do something, and then I can guide your steps. Yeah. But if you're not taking any steps, he says the steps of the righteous are guided by the Lord, but you have to be taking steps in order to have them guided.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. Great advice. Huge. So, well, let's end here. I want to hear, talk about your MC. So you got the real estate stuff, Dublin. It's awesome. But you got a huge, you're starting to get known pretty well for your MCing. You got a giant gift there, which I don't need to, puff you up anymore with telling you, but you are awesome.
Appreciate it. That. Thank you.
All of our events at Legacy, and talk a little bit about some of the other events and kind of where that's at, because I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate it. And, it all started with just saying yes. Yeah. And again, all those little things that start to add up where you don't realize that they're stepping stones, but they are. Like I said, being in the military, my job was to gather information and tell it to people, constantly getting reps. So I started to feel a lot more comfortable speaking to people.
Yeah.
I crafted my tongue. I was able to spit it out, if you will. And so we're in the Legacy Mastermind, and they had a speaker come one year, and his name was JJ Live. I don't know what his last name is, but that's what they call him, JJ Live. JJ Live was on the stage, and he did this thing where he was talking to us about the power of social media. And he's on stage, and he takes out his phone, and he's like, I'm going to show you the power of social media. He takes a video, and he says a little thing, and he turns around and he says, we buy apartment buildings. And when he said that, we all jumped up and we yelled, ah.
Yeah.
And he posted that online, and he said, I can raise money from this video alone. I can get however many views from this video alone just because of my social media presence. So
crazy.
It's wild. Social media, a whole other topic. We do a whole other podcast on that. But the next year he came back, and he was the MC. And we were getting ready to go to break. And he said, before we came back from break, he said, hey, who remembers the thing that I did last year? And I was like, oh, boom, that's me. I remember. Or no, he asked, who wants to do that thing? And I looked around for 0.2 seconds. I didn't see any hands. And I said, dude, that's for me.
Yeah.
So I go up on stage, and I said something really short, just like, I'm sitting here at the Legacy Family Summit. We're having a great time surrounded by great people. One thing I've learned is if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Another thing, we buy apartments. And everyone was crazy, right? Just an ad lib little thing, no plan whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so a couple months later, and that felt really good to do that on stage.
Oh, yeah,
and then it sparked something in me. I was like, I'm going to be on stages. I am going to do this. So I started shifting my focus towards that's what I'm going to do. I need to continue to sharpen this craft. A couple months later, the Legacy crew called me and asked me, hey, we saw you on stage. We know you want to be on stages. Have you ever thought, would you want to come and do the emceeing for the event? And I said, absolutely, without a question, yes. I have no idea what goes into it, but I'm going to do it. And man, I researched every speaker in depth for weeks before this, practiced my intro a number of different times. And by doing that, and I stepped on stage, it was almost like it was exactly the steps of the righteous are guided by the Lord. And I'm not saying I'm righteous by any means, but I was doing the things. I was taking the gifts, talents, and abilities that I had been given, and I was saying yes. That's saying yes is stewardship.
Yeah.
Saying yes to something that's going to expand your comfort zone is stewardship. So that's exactly what I was living in, and it felt so comfortable. So I crushed the stage there, memorized each speaker. Like, I didn't use their bio. I used my own research to tell the audience about who they are.
Yeah.
And not only does it build credibility and trust with the audience, gives them a better idea of who's about to come on stage, but the person who put years and years into their craft, who's about to step on stage and deliver, they are now recognized for, there's no way I can do them total justice.
Yeah.
But now they really get their due when they come on stage.
Yeah.
And that, seeing them light up before they come on, be like, wow, how does he know all that stuff about me?
Yeah.
It changes the game.
Yeah.
It's so special to me.
That's cool.
Because I know what goes into it.
Yeah.
I know the sacrifice that people put into their businesses.
Yep.
So now, I am indefinitely the MC for all the Legacy events.
Yeah.
And from that, I have gone on to do probably 10 other events outside of Legacy family for people that have their own events in the group, and now stepping outside of it. And I just had an interview with Bigger Pockets yesterday about coming on and being an MC for BP Con, God willing, that goes through. But that just shows the possibilities that are out there when you say yes.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. And Bigger Pockets, that's a huge shout out to them. Like, I know some people kind of poo-poo on them now, but that's where I cut my teeth.
Absolutely.
Wealth of information. Almost all of it's free.
Yes.
And if you're 101, that's the place to go. Like, I've referred so many people, go listen to Bigger Pockets, and now they have like the rookie thing that wasn't around when I was but huge, great company, and tons of
hours of invested time.
Yeah.
Paying the $40 a month to use the calculators. I run hundreds and hundreds of deals through those calculators. Without them, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah.
Legit. I'm not a spreadsheets guy, but because the availability was there, and again, it's like $40 a month.
It's value.
That's 2 subscriptions right there for something else that's not serving my life.
Right.
Boom. Let me spend the $40.
Yeah.
Invest the $40.
Yeah.
And now this wealth of information done for me, and now it's just it's an asset. So Bigger Pockets has changed my life, probably so many other people's lives, by just being there.
Yeah, huge. And no, that's great stuff. I do want to hit one thing that you talked about. Nobody's coming to save me. I feel like that term gets thrown around. I've heard it gotten thrown around a little bit more. And I remember the first time I heard it, I'm like, oh, it's true. No one's coming to save me. Like, it's on us. And I think the more I've thought about it, it's not it. When I was younger, you always think, well, one day I'll just get here. Like, I'll be more financially sound, or I'll be in better shape. And like that one day never comes unless you take all the things we've just talked about, take that action, step through that fear, and that no one's coming to save you. Like, people are like, oh yeah, well, no, nothing's going to change in your life if you don't take anything else away. Nothing's changing in your life unless you take action to change it. And that's what I think that saying, or that boils down to, is nothing's changing until you move off the couch.
Absolutely.
So,
And most people won't change until the pain of change becomes greater, or the pain of comfort becomes greater than the pain of change, that nobody's going to do anything.
right. Yep.
So we need, like I talked about, those feathers, those hammers, and those trains.
Yeah,
We need those hammers.
Yeah.
We need those trains,
Yeah.
because if not, it is a straight track to a mediocre life.
Right.
And I mean, sometimes, but the reality is sometimes you get hit with those trains and it takes you in a different direction.
Yeah.
And it's not that it takes you, it's that you let it take you there.
Right.
You respond in a way to where it defeats you rather than uplifts you.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yep.
Like I said in the beginning, life is decisions. You can choose to let it break you down, or you can choose to let it lift you up.
Yeah.
There are cancer survivors who allowed it. Now they're living the most incredible lives possible.
Yeah.
Because they took the worst such circumstances and built something from it. Whereas, unfortunately, people who were dealt the same hand in terms of medical illness, they're no longer with us.
Yeah.
And, that's just the difference between the power that we talked about right here between our ears.
Yeah. It's awesome. Well, great stuff, man. Enjoyed having you here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Chat. Tons of value in there. Can't wait for people to get to hear it. I love what you're doing, dude. I love being around you, the energy that you give off. Love that we're 20 minutes away.
Definitely.
Hopefully you can hang out more.
Shoot some guns.
Yeah, shoot some guns. Yeah. We'll have a lot we can hang out and do, but this has been great. First time Virgin podcast for the room. So hopefully many more to come, but love what you're doing and wish you the best moving forward, man.
Same to you, brother. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, good stuff.